the connection diet. Now, if you are someone that struggles with mindless eating, with binge watching TV on Netflix, with mindless scrolling on social media, with any of those mindless habits that give you cognitive dissonance, meaning you're sitting there and while you're indulging in your guilty pleasure, you're not even really enjoying it. You're experiencing guilt, shame, blame, comparison. And what that cognitive dissonance really is when you say to yourself, man, I feel like I should be doing something else or I should be doing that, but I'm here doing this. And you almost feel out of control, like it's a drug that you can't control and it's got its hold on you. So if you are someone that struggles with mindless behavior or any like bad habits that tend to act as coping mechanisms, then chances are that you could really benefit from what I call the connection diet. And what it is, and again, I'll explain it all in detail in just a moment, but what if you started becoming mindful of where you're not really getting the connection that you need, where your mammal brain is saying, hey, I really want connection, but you've fired and wired the experience of connection through TV or food or mindlessly scrolling on Facebook or whatever your guilty pleasure is. What if all you did was became mindful of when you are feeding those habits and you simply created the connection that you're actually looking for, where you actually fed yourself what you are looking for? So I encourage you, anyone who finds themselves really struggling with those bad habits that they can't for the life of them break, try it on in this new light. Try the connection diet, and I have a feeling you will be surprised at what you find. So here is what that looks like. The connection diet. So this idea of what are you feeding yourself, right? And, we talked about how we as humans, as mammals, we need that connection. It's our brain. It's not a desire, it's a require. And so what I want you to do is the first step is simply use the distraction audit that you're given within this experiment and find out where are you mindlessly, I should say, feeding yourself with old coping habits, right? And whenever we fall or whenever we feed our old habits that we really don't want to, so things like mindlessly scrolling on Facebook, binge eating or mindlessly eating or stress eating or binge watching Netflix or whatever it is, right? Those coping habits that give us that cognitive dissonance where we say something like, I should be doing this, or why am I still doing this, or I wish I had more power or willpower or whatever, right? And then of course we're doing it because it's our guilty pleasure, but we don't even get the pleasure. We get the actual guilt, or sometimes it's shame or blame or comparison that goes with it, right? So notice when you're feeding yourself with your drug of choice, right? For a while mine was food, and then it became Netflix, and we all have our drug. But be mindful, so use the distraction on it to find your drug, and become mindful of when you're feeding that habit and experiencing that cognitive dissonance, okay? And then just simply ask yourself, what do I really want right now? How do I want to feel? And I have found time and time again with my clients that it's the little girl in them that's really desiring something, or that's trying to tell you something, whether it's I'm lonely, or I feel sad, or I'm bored, or I feel isolated, or I want some connection, right? But regardless of which version of you consult, just ask yourself, what do I really want right now? And I think you'll find that you don't want the package of cookies and to watch 5 episodes of Orange is the New Black, right? And then ask yourself, is this really making me feel good or comforted or happy or whatever you're looking to feel, right? Because chances are those cookies are not making you feel the way you want to feel, right? And then ask yourself, well, what would? And there's a connection recovery worksheet for you to find out what your brain and what would really help you connect with yourself and connect with others. So I encourage you to use that. So if this is striking a chord with you, right, and you know that you have these habits that you are ready to overcome once and for all, I guarantee you that going on a connection diet, meaning like disconnecting from what's not connecting you and then connecting to what would be such a game changer for you. But I invite you not to do this until you're ready to really overcome those coping mechanisms that you're using. Because the truth is, sometimes you're just not ready for it yet. And that is
totally cool. So I invite you to take on this experiment when you're ready, because it really is a challenging one, especially if you've been having these habits for a long time. But when you're ready, what the experiment would look like is simply, again, it's a matter of becoming mindful, right? To start paying attention and noticing when you're using your coping habits as a form of connection, right? And then put yourself on a connection diet where you unplug from your current source of connection, the ones that really aren't feeding you, like, the mindless eating, the mindless scrolling, the mindless watching TV, that kind of thing, right? And then go truly connect yourself. Give yourself what would make you feel that oxytocin, that connection hormone, right? And use what you learned from the connection recovery worksheet that you're provided with to feed yourself with what you really want. It really is as simple as that. With any habit change, right? We can't just cease the current habit. We have to replace it with something else that creates those positive hormones, the dopamine, the serotonin, the oxytocin. So don't just try to unplug from old habits without replacing it with something, because what you really want is connection. So what you're doing with this connection diet is you're simply not using your current source of connection, the TV, the cookies, whatever, and you're going to find out what would really connect you. And that's it. Simple, not easy, as always. But again, if you're ready, if this resonates with you, if this is speaking to you, I invite you to take this on. Just try it for a few days, set yourself up for success, and I can't wait to hear how it goes.